Welcome to the little intro section we have at the beginning of every one of these Hatecasts. Now, the interesting thing this week to let you guys know is Hypnos is buy one, get one. That's right, it's back in stock, as well as having an awesome sale to go with it. There is also a large discount code that I will link in the description box below so that you can go ahead and take advantage of the Hypnos BOGO. That means add one Hypnos to your cart and then add another one, and then it should zero out the second one, just to clarify, because we do get a lot of people asking how does our BOGOs work, and that's how it works within our store software. So you go ahead and add the two Hypnos and use the discount code, and you'll be a happy camper. Now, in this episode, I go over training. So I know we've talked a lot about nutrition. I'm going to kind of shift gears now, and me, Judah, and I are going to speak on a little training tangent. This will, of course, lead into a follow-up video that him and I have yet to record. So, with that being said, guys, if you have any suggestions, any comments, or anything, leave them down in the description box below, or leave them down in the comment section below. Also, go ahead, and we're almost to 2,000. Go ahead and subscribe, because that really helps out the show. It helps me with my crippling depression, and it helps out the show, and that's the most important thing, because nobody gives a shit about this guy. It's just got dark. I know, buddy. I know. Anyway, enjoy the show. Hey guys, we are live. Welcome to the newest Hatecast. Today I am joined by Judah NIKNAM. And he's back. If you're not familiar with who he is, I suggest you watch the first episode he was in. Pastor, great guy, works with us, cartoonish arms. Don't worry about it. So today's topic of discussion is training, but there are a few things I'd like to cover real quick before we get into that. So I just opened up again my my Ferox. I switched from Riot to Ferox, and it just feels a little bit different. We've got some questions about Ferox EU, and what's the difference between Ferox EU and the OG Ferox, or the Ferox US and Canada, I'll put it. So the difference is basically we try to mimic Ferox the best we could in order for it to get to you guys with a little bit more of a difficult time with customs. So places like Belgium, Germany, New Zealand, places like that shouldn't have a problem with Ferox EU getting past customs and straight to your door. It's similar, but it has some unique flavors that are unique to it that are not here. So that way we can have some people that weren't going to try it before try it. You know, it's just a different flavor for different folks. Some flavors we're experimenting with. Thought it'd be cool to do it for the EU, our EU fans. So you have orange soda flavor. You have pineapple mango is another one that we have. And some other flavors. But let's get into the meat and potatoes. So, this Hatecast will not be about nutrition, because I think we have gone over that in detail. We have deep dived into that. And if you're interested in those, I will link those in the description box below. I will also have them in a card somewhere here, so that you guys can go ahead and listen to nutrition. So, is there anything you'd like to open with when it comes to training?
First thing I'd just like to say is training is very complex, and there's multiple ways to do it regarding your goals on what you're trying to achieve, whether if it's bulking for size, mass, whether if it's for strength training, mixture of both, cutting, whatever it is. There's always multiple ways to get to it, and there's very unique ways that people don't really understand right now on how to get to those goals in a much faster way.
And there's different ways to train for different goals too. You know, where somebody might be a power lifter and they might train specifically with the big three lifts, and they can never take those out of their programming. They can never abandon those. People who are in the bodybuilding or endurance sports or something like that, they can kind of say, you know what, I don't feel like deadlifting for a while. I can take that out and I can do something else. I don't feel like barbell bench pressing. I noticed a lot of the physique guys are now going to dumbbells and machine work only. So, what are your thoughts on some of that? I mean, what are your experiences with that? What movements did you kind of ditch and replace, and how's your training structured right now?
The one big thing that really stood out when you were talking was you made a comment about people are switching out barbell bench press with dumbbell bench press. And the reason why that sticks out is because one specific question that I get asked all the time is how to build chest, how to make it, broad and round and really pop out. And I've told them, for the longest time, I never did a barbell bench press.
Right.
When I started training for probably the first 3 years, I didn't do the bar. I just did dumbbells. And of course, I was more along the lines with bodybuilding. The different kind of range of motion that you're able to receive with dumbbells, how you're able to adjust your arms, you're able to feel a deeper stretch, sometimes a little bit more of a contraction at the top when you're pressing because you can, really like squeeze your chest together. But right now with my own training, I'm incorporating both. So on my chest days, I'm doing bench press and I'm doing dumbbell bench press. And I'm training them in different ways as well. So with the bar, I'll do something like a powerlifting move and I'll do chest 2 times a week. I'll have my light day where I'll do about 50 up to 60% of my max. And I'll do my speed work. And then I'll go into flat dumbbell press and I do pyramid sets. And then I'll have a secondary day where I'll do chest and I'll do my max effort lift. And then I'll just do 1, 2, 3 reps with the bar, then a 25, then a 45, and I'll just work my way all the way up until I max out.
Yeah. Well, I've started doing something different as well in a roundabout way, kind of similar to what you're doing. So I'm a big proponent of doing your fly work on cables, just because sometimes with dumbbells, some people can just cheat a little too much, not get that full. I mean, the thing I like about cables when it comes to stuff like dumbbell flies and even tricep extensions, right? I'm not really a big fan of free weight tricep extensions, just because you can control the movement through the whole range of motion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I've been doing is I've been doing my flat barbell bench press on Tuesday along with cable chest flies, and then doing incline dumbbell bench press on Friday along with some more cable flies, because pec flies, I love them. It's a movement that agrees with me.
Right.
I've experienced a lot of chest growth off of doing flies. So, I mean, there's different ways to skin a cat, and that's why training is such a unique topic, and why we decided to do this episode on it. So, as per your recommendations, where should everybody start?
I really think that everyone needs to start off with a foundation of not just going into the gym, but instead watching videos and communicating with people that have already had years of experience. I started off doing DVDs and VHS videos. That helped me because I was able to see with my own eyes the movements that they were doing. So if someone were to say, you need to do a push-up, I might have my butt all the way in the air, I might have my hands up at my face level, and I might be doing a press where it's all my shoulders, not my chest. When I was watching the videos, I could actually see the form that they're doing. And to be honest, it's actually motivating to watch those videos, because the majority of the time when you buy a DVD like that, they're encouraging you, come on, you can do it. If you need to take a break, just hit the pause button, gather yourself, keep going. I think that's one. I think that's one way that people can start. Just one of the many ways. One of the other ways that people can start off with is finding a friend who's already heavily involved in some form of fitness.
Right.
And that was how I got involved with powerlifting. I didn't know how to powerlift at all. And the person that I started working out with is a former World's Strongest Man competitor, and he taught me how to powerlift.
There you go.
So, finding someone who has more knowledge and experience than you is always the answer. But if you're going to just do it yourself, if you don't have friends, family, or access, even though you should always have access to some form of fitness videos or whatever, the best thing that you could do is research. That's the other thing that I did was every day growing up, I would research uh, fitness, bodybuilding, powerlifting. I mean, I researched day and night, and that's how I grew a lot of knowledge with it was just from researching.
And that's something nowadays we're kind of privileged. See, back in the old days of Jamie Lewis and people of yesteryear, when it comes to powerlifting and bodybuilding and everything else, they had people that they went and were around. They had muscle magazines, and they had the trainer at the gym. And a lot of information was learned, a lot of information was passed around, but still, you had to be specifically looking for it in order to. Nowadays, guess what? You got YouTube, right? It's extremely good platform that we're on. Number one on, let's be honest here. Uh, but, you have YouTube, you have online fitness forums, you have even making a friend on Facebook, seeing that they're kind of jacked, and then pulling information from them. You're not as lost anymore, you know? Now, whereas I kind of started out similar to you, I actually got my hands on, you're not going to believe this, but a P90X
That's the
DVD.
same one that I started off with.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Same exact one.
Man, let me tell you something. The dude who does P90X, is so charismatic, he could probably sell me a car. He could probably sell me 2 cars at the same time, even though I need one. It's crazy. But he did. That is one thing that I think everybody should have is like a base level fitness before they even think about going into a gym. And that's something Jamie Lewis is kind of a big proponent of too. He said that, first and foremost, don't make fun of bigger people in the gym. People who are trying to better themselves. I'll just put it that way.
I agree.
But if you are in that position, maybe it would be a good idea to kind of pull upon the information at home and then go into the gym once you know, hey, this is how you do a push-up, this is how you do a pull-up. Because once you start with feeling the muscles and feeling the contractions and developing that mind-muscle connection, picking up a new exercise is quick,
Yeah, it really is.
For most people. So they should start out doing that. So where do they lead after that? So what's
Typically
the next
after about, typically after about between 3 to 6 months is what I recommend on starting off with something, and then transcending into a gym environment, just like you said, where they're ready to take on newer and bigger weights, newer and bigger obstacles, newer and bigger challenges, training routines. The reason why I say wait between 3 to 6 months is so, let's say as an example, you are doing like a P90X program or some kind of DVD program that you're doing at home. When you're doing that, it's going to take you about 3 to 6 months to really develop a different physique. It's going to take that long for you to get into the routinely habit of training and to really acknowledging what that mind-muscle connection feels like, reading your body, and then really being able to describe what your true goals are and finding out the best scenario to achieve them. So then once you go into the gym and you transcend into those bigger challenges and those bigger weights, you're able to go in there with the confidence and with the knowledge of, okay, this is my goal, this is how I've trained before, this is my background, this is where I started, I have a foundation, and now I'm able to tackle on the bigger pieces of meat in order to help me achieve what I'm looking for.
All right. And is there any program that you've kind of examined over, the years that you've been lifting and I'll go through this too, that has kind of stood out in your mind as a good place for beginners to start?
Uh, there's actually a few different programs I really enjoyed. Growing up, I did a lot of the same programs uh, that you probably might have heard of. I did start off with P90X, and P90X became the number one at-home fitness program in the world.
Number one.
And
Let me tell you something. The sales
yes,
numbers were crazy.
yes,
Everybody was talking about it. They had 90-day
hmm
transformations, which 3 months. There's coincidence there. They had 90-day transformations, and then they said take a month off and then come back. Like
right.
it was a phenomenon there for a
It
little bit.
was it was amazing because they really took in how muscle confusion can help. They really took on how proper training can help, and the biggest thing was the proper diet. But not only that, that's a good training program for people who are just trying to lean
Get
out,
fit.
build a little, yeah, get fit, all around fit.
Yeah.
People that are just trying to cut, get more shredded, have better cardiovascular health and endurance. My lifting partner, Elijah, he did the Insanity program,
Ooh.
and boy, did he got absolutely shredded. His endurance went through the roof. He was the best with cardio whatsoever. The
Yeah.
third program, and there's only this one and one other one that I'll mention. The third program, which I actually got into, and it was how I got into bodybuilding, was a program called Body Beast, and that is created by former Mr. Israel, Sagi Kalev, who is actually my favorite bodybuilder. And
Oh wow.
if all of you watching have not seen who he is, you need to go check him out. The top three favorite bodybuilders I have is obviously Arnold Schwarzenegger, Big Country Dallas McCarver, and Sagi Kalev. If you have not heard of Sagi Kalev, check him out. He looks great. But I did his program, and that was how I really got into bodybuilding. And it's a great starter program.
Right.
And how I got more into powerlifting was the 531 program, very popular. And through all of those programs, and through almost a decade of training, I shouldn't even say a decade, it's probably been about 5, 6 years, I'm saying a decade. Throughout these years and talking with people, I'm actually developing my own program that I'm putting together for a mixture of powerlifting and bodybuilding for people who have the same goals as me, the size
Kind of like a
and
power building
strength.
routine, like in the traditional
Yes,
sense. Yeah.
power building, yes.
So it's interesting that you mentioned 531 because I was on 531 for a little bit, and then also did 5x5, which I'm not really too much of a fan of now, just because when you progress uh, in a linear progression scheme, you don't see when you become intermediate. Linear is no longer a word that you identify with because you'll find these hard walls that you kind of got to take a step back and then bust through and then take a step back, maybe sometimes 2 steps back and then bust through. I mean, getting to 600 deadlift was pretty rough. Getting to for me personally, now I know you're a big bencher. How much was the last time that you barbell bench pressed?
Um, well, after coming back from an injury from the start of this year, tore my pec. Uh, Now coming back, I'm up to doing a 415, which in my mind isn't so great. Um, but everyone says it's great, so
Well, I I have a theory with this. So you have a bunch of people under the misconception that just because you're tall or you're a taller individual means you can't bench. You can't bench. You're not supposed to hit big numbers. All this stuff. So when you do hit something respectable, it's it's almost feels less significant to you because you've always been told, you have long arms. You're not supposed to do that.
oh, I have long
Um,
arms and I'm like 6'2", 6'3", something like that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I was the same way. I mean, I'm going towards 405 now. I've slacked on my bench just because it's nothing that I've really worked towards. I've always kind of had, how Arnold had that cheat rib cage, where his rib cage was just massive and his pecs just set on top of it, and he had that perfect. I've got a gigantic rib cage, and because of that, my chest looks bigger than it actually is, and because of that, I've just never really worked on it, but by April on 420, I want to bench 420. So for a top tier social media meme. But anyway, yeah, that is a respectable bench. I mean, you're on your way to 500. You know,
That's my goal. Is I want to be able to bench press 500, and you know, kind of in the same categories with squats and deadlifts. You know, after coming back from a lower back injury, 2 lower back injuries,
right?
Both disc related. I want to come back, and I was originally doing over 500 pounds for deadlift, and that was just starting with powerlifting. You know, I started powerlifting this year, full throttle,
Right.
and I got real mad that I got injured. So when I came back, I said, you know what, man, screw this. I'm going to get, you know, just so freaking powerful. I'm going to deadlift 600, and then I'm just going to go for 700, and I'm just going to keep going up. And ever since I came back, I've just had this fire to just pick up so much heavy weights. But obviously, I'm not maxing out and trying to PR every week. You know, I wouldn't recommend that.
Yeah. So that it's interesting that you say that. So a lot of people with really big benches and really big lifts in general, you know, for those who are uneducated on the subject, kind of, and I only say that because the people who listen to our podcast is usually within the 1 to 5 year training range. So can you kind of expound on that? Why wouldn't you want to max out every day? Every day,
You don't want
bro.
to max out every day because you don't want to max out because if you're trying to max out on your let's just stick with your three main lifts. Your bench, your squat, and deadlift every single week. You know, your body can only handle so much. Your central nervous system can only handle so much. Your muscles can only handle so much. Your bones, your tendons, your joints, everything about you can only handle so much. When you put your body under a strain of, let's say, maxing out, you're doing a 415 bench, just like I maxed out a few weeks ago.
Right.
You max out, you try to come back in the next week and hit that exact same number, you're going to be pretty pissed off and feeling depressed because you're probably not going to be hitting that 415 for that week or the week after or the week after because your body is so beaten up, torn down. You need to let it recover and rest. And typically after you do a PR, you're probably not going to hit a PR within between another, I mean, for everyone it's going to range most likely at absolute minimal 4 or 5 weeks. Absolutely minimal is when you would hit a new PR.
Right.
Typically, it's going to be between 6 to 8 weeks when you're going to hit a new PR because your body's going to be built up. It's going to be getting stronger.
By the way, you're talking for intermediates, right? So somebody who's not new into training because they hit PRs like almost every day.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Still,
People that
I mean,
I'm a trainer, and I'm training
Yeah.
one guy right now, and you'll probably, if you see him on my Facebook, you'll say like, "Holy cow! Like this guy is looking awesome within just like 2.5 months." Well, you know, I've been training him, and every single week he's hitting a PR. He just hit a 405 deadlift, and when he first started, he was only deadlifting 275, and that is absolutely amazing to see him doing that.
You know, funny thing you mentioned that. I mean, there was somebody who I know personally who went to school with my daughter that I just ran into yesterday, and he was in her band about 3 years ago or something like that, right? Teenager. So just like a freaking cheating teenager, right? He gains 40 pounds of mass out of nowhere, and looks jacked. And, he hasn't really grown taller, but hey, them's the genetics. Sorry. But, yeah, he's just jacked and he's ripped and he's like, I'm just sitting there hating on him because he's just so jacked, right? And in such a short time period, he almost looked like a different person. When people go through significant body transformations, it really does take you back whenever you see him for the first time again. And, I'm sure you got the same stuff. You got the same kind of reaction from people when you went through your
when
body
I first started
transformation.
working out, I was wearing a size small with all of my shirts, and then after working out where I am right now, it's like I can barely fit into all the XLs, and I can't wear 2XLs and 3XLs because they're too wide around my waist. It makes me look like freaky moo moo, and I don't want to look like moo moo.
Yeah, see, I'm in a 2 XL right now. I'm probably going to have to move up to 3 here pretty soon. We'll see.
See, look
That's the
at you all
goal for
jacked up and
2019.
stuff.
Huh?
Said, look at you all being jacked and stuff.
Hey, I'm trying, man. No, it's because I'm tall. That's it. There's no other reason. Uh, no, but you know how. I'm one of those people that sees myself forever small, though. So,
Oh, I'm with you on
yeah.
that.
So, and I there's this one dude who's flexing in the mirror at my gym. Actually, funny that we're talking about this. I told him, don't start looking now. You'll never be satisfied. Is what I said. you know? So, I mean, but when it comes down to it, so back to the original discussion. So, your PR, your range of PRs right now comes every 6 to 8 weeks, right?
Roughly between, for myself, because I've been doing it a little bit longer, and I do a lot of recovery movements, and I eat a crap ton, and I sleep a lot. My body is recovering a little bit better than the average person because of all the different stretches, recovery exercises, and everything that I do. So for myself, 4 to 6 weeks is typical on how often I'll hit a PR.
Right, right. And speaking of recovery, is there anything that you do for recovery specifically that you would kind of want to pass on that knowledge here on the Hatecast?
There's a few things. The first thing is, if anyone out there is dealing with a torn muscle or any kind of a muscle injury, please, every single day, you need to be massaging it at a level that is comfortable for you. Don't get too aggressive with massaging it. My girlfriend, when I tore my pec, she had to help me, and she massaged it every single day that I was seeing her. She would help me gently stretch it, and I couldn't even lift up my arm and barely hold my arm back.
Don't pay attention to
And
me. I'm 12. Go ahead.
so, anyways, back to the clean mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had to help me out with all that, but that's what I'd recommend for people that are dealing with injuries. Now, if you're just talking about recovery movements, there's a couple of different movements. First of all, stretching. Stretching after your workouts, I think, is beneficial. Every time I stretch after my workouts, I only take about 5 to 10 minutes of stretching. And the only reason why I do 5 to 10 minutes is because I feel as though that there does come a point when you can stretch a little too much, and it's like, okay, you don't need to stretch all that much. You already let the fresh blood in there. You're fine. Um, Recovery exercises, such as if you're doing chest, as an example, Monday, and then Tuesday you're really sore, something that I'll do is either on Tuesday or on Wednesday, I will just use the bar or some very light dumbbells like 20s and just do some bench presses, just very light, only to get fresh blood in there and just to get the oxygen and the blood in there. That's it.
Yeah.
I think that's a very beneficial way. I know a lot of people want to say that they do heating pad, icy hot, ice baths. I've never bothered with myself to get into that because it's never really benefited me, but for some people it works great for them.
Yeah. There's a couple different things on recovery I do as well. I mean, something that I make sure and plan within my programs is every block I go through, right? And it's not block periodization in the particular or in the traditional way. It's just whenever I need a deload, that starts my new block. And deload, by the way, is a intuitive deload. It's not something that I pre-plan. I deload because when you get to the intermediate level or even advanced level, you're in this constant kind of battle between prehab and rehab, right? For some people, for most athletes. And by prehab, I mean doing stretches so that you don't injure yourself, or doing movements so that you don't injure yourself. For example, people will start out being bench bros, start their benching every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so on and so forth. And then eventually they have to add in a prehab exercise, which is rear delt flies, because their chest has just gotten so overpowered that they get these concave shoulders. End up potentially damaging their shoulders. because of the strength of your pec severely, and I mean you have to have a pretty significant muscle imbalance to get your shoulders pulled forward like that. It can cause some structural issues. So you just add in a couple of sets of rear delts as often as you can, and that seems to be a corrective way, a way to correct that issue, right? Something that I tend to like to do is I go ahead and look up something like common muscular weaknesses, and I pick about 3 or 4 different exercises, and for that, for the next 8 weeks or 12 weeks or however long it takes me to want to deload again, because I have this accumulation of fatigue, right? I end up adding 3 or 4 different prehab exercises, like step-ups, right? Like you're not going to... It's great for people with IT band syndrome, you know?
Right.
Stuff like planks. If you ever get out of bed and your lower back is tweaking a little bit, that probably means there's something going on in your abdominal wall, not actually in your back, because your core braces you from falling forward, right? So when it comes down to it, I pick up like planks, step-ups. I do maybe some shoulder, like rotator cuff stuff and stuff like that. Do you notice yourself doing any of that stuff? Those prehab
I'll do stuff.
exercises?
Yeah, I'll do stuff for my shoulders, for my rotator cuffs,
Yeah.
especially before I do bench. For the absolutely best possible recovery move that I think is the absolute best. It's my favorite. Reverse hypers, man. I mean, those things are
Yeah.
miracle workers, man. When I was coming back from my lower back injuries, I was doing reverse hypers every day. And I didn't go
Right.
heavy with them. I just put probably a quarter, maybe 2 quarters on each side, and just did enough reps to just get the blood in there, maybe 10 to 15. And I do about 3 or 4 sets of that every day. This doesn't really go into a recovery movement, but one way how I got my lower back to feel better was not only just strengthening up my hips and my hip flexors, but I noticed to strengthen up my hips, my glutes, my hamstrings, my lower back, without putting me through pain, like when I would deadlift if I was dealing with pain.
Right.
I did Pentley rows, and very surprisingly, those really strengthened me up to the point where they helped me recover faster. I'm not saying that everyone should be doing that. I'm just saying for myself, it came to me as a shock. Who would have knew that Pentley rows would have helped me that much?
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. And I've played around with them too. I just, my range of motion is kind of too big for my gym, because I end up slamming the weights down.
Oh yeah, that's how
Yeah,
they're supposed to be. What are you talking about?
I know, but the gym that I go to isn't too keen on that. But I will say that they finally have a deadlift platform, so I might have to pick them back up.
Yes, they're fun.
But with that being said, I also kind of wanted to get into, so you said that you were training somebody, right? Can you talk a little bit about how much variability there are from individual to individual? I mean, like, what are some things that work for your guy that doesn't work for you?
So like some things that work for him that does not necessarily work for me is, this is just for myself is an example. I am not doing free full depth range motion squats.
Right.
I'm doing box squats, and I do it with the safety squat bar. Now, a lot of people might say, "Well, that's not as beneficial." I'm not trying to do a contest with heavy squats. I'm wanting to just build up some leg power, some leg drive, to still keep my legs in healthy shape, and I'm really trying to benefit my deadlift. If I do a contest for anything, it would be for deadlift. He does not like safety squat bar at all, or box squats. When he grabs the safety squat bar, instead of putting his hands on the handles, he'll put his hands where he would usually put it on a straight bar. And he just can't do that. It doesn't feel good for him whatsoever. Um, so the difference of that, as an example, like training him versus training other people, I can train him to the sense of making him do a full workout routine that I would do, which is typically a little bit more hardcore, more intense, it's longer. But with other people, I might have to incorporate more of, I guess you could say, more cardiovascular exercises in the
Right.
routine. And I think that's just, I do think that's just goal dependent, to be honest. So,
Yeah.
that's just to give you a little example of that.
I kind of want to get your opinion on this because I have my own. What's your opinion on cardio? Like, goal dependent, of course, but I mean, if you're going to run a marathon, hashtag no cardio doesn't work. So,
Right? I
but
think if you are training properly, if you are able to train properly in the sense of, you know, powerlifting, bodybuilding, whatever, if you're training really hard and you're not taking 5 minutes of rest in between every single set, every single exercise, your cardiovascular is going to be pretty good. And as long as you're keeping your health in check with your diet, which can also benefit your cardiovascular system, there you go. Uh, Now, I will say that preferably I would think 1 time a week for cardio is like a cardio routine of like a high intensity interval training,
right,
workout. That's
right.
probably about 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I think if you're trying to bulk and get strong, and if you're not trying to do a lot of cardio, just that type of training would benefit you. But what I'm doing right now is I will do a low intensity cardio routine with just going for a walk or getting on the stair climber,
Right.
something that's not high intensity where it's going to burn the muscles, uh, and eat them away, just enough where it's keeping my cardiovascular system up there. I think that's very beneficial for people that are especially trying to be strength training and also trying to put on some good size.
Yeah, so my definition of cardio might differ from yours a little bit. Uh, I consider taking a walk around the block or something like that as non-exercise related cardio. So
Yeah,
that's something you don't necessarily do in the gym. Like,
right.
I took these little terrors behind me for walks for my cardio, my non-exercise cardio. And that's kind of just something that I enjoy doing, and it's something that keeps me active, and it's something that keeps my cardiovascular system going. I don't believe you need to go run on a treadmill to get good cardiovascular conditioning.
Right.
Something as simple as walking your dog, taking a walk around the block a couple times a day, stuff like that. Although, to be completely honest, resistance training, if you're not interested in cardiovascular type sports or anaerobic type sports, or I'm sorry, aerobic type sports, you don't need to do any particular cardio. 1 time a week would probably be healthy, but when it comes to having that level, that base level of conditioning that's going to prevent you from getting all the bad things, I think that resistance training in and of itself, depending on the intensity of your workout, is going to be enough.
Yeah, if your workouts are intense as they need to be, then you are going to be getting, some decent cardiovascular exercise right there. If your workout routine is intense enough, I know powerlifters who have insanely high cardio, and it's just strictly from their training. And there's one guy in particular, he's 320 pounds, but
Oh
he's
yeah,
got a better cardiovascular system than the majority of people that go to the gym, and he's got a little bit of a gut as well.
yeah. And that things kind of change, but not really when you're trying to get bodybuilding level of stage lean. For that specifically, and that's kind of my world, not the powerlifting world. Um, but for that specifically, if things stall out, you may need to do that to increase energy expenditure.
Yeah,
But at the same time, there's plenty of people who get lean off of just diet and training alone. Specifically, people like Dorian Yates, I believed needed to do more cardio. I believe that was because his workouts were so short. Very, very intense, mind you, and that's what worked for him. That's how he built the most size. But and then you have people like oh crap, I think Kevin Lerone was a volume guy. Um, so he didn't necessarily need to do any cardio. He actually grew into shows, which is insane. But for that specifically, I think that may come into play. If you're an MMA guy, probably need some base level of cardio. But if you're just training to look good, your training will be all that you need.
Well, one thing that I will say is I think the majority of the time, people do overtraining with cardio. They say overtraining in the gym by lifting the weights, and I don't think that's the majority of problems. I think the majority of problems comes from overtraining with cardio. How many times will you see someone post a question in a forum or on social media, and they say, well, I'm trying to get bigger, or I'm trying to get stronger, and people might ask them the question, how often are you doing cardio? And they'll say, well, I do cardio every day. Well, there's your problem. You're doing cardio every day. Cardio's good, but it's not something that is good to do every day if you're trying to gain more size and strength.
See, I have my opinions on that too. See, because you'll notice that a lot of guys who do daily cardio have crap legs. I think because it may be eating into recovery.
It eats into the recovery, and it just burns off. It's just eating away your muscle. I mean, yeah, you're not getting the benefits that you're really expecting from it.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, low intensity cardio, like I would go for walks every day. That doesn't bother me whatsoever. But if I go on a treadmill, or if I do a high intensity interval training routine every day, my gosh, I mean, I'll look shredded, but I'm going to look small.
Yeah. And, there's nothing wrong if you like cardio, keep doing it. That's not what we're saying.
Right.
But we are saying that if maximum size is your goal, it's probably a good idea to at least put a limit on it.
Yes. And I'm a size guy, so that's why I talk about it a lot.
You know what? I seem to be a size guy too right now. Even though I am dieting right now, I'm down to 259 from 290. But I'm still trying to hold on to as much muscle mass as possible. So, not doing much cardio. That's just me, though.
Right.
So, and if someone were to add in cardio, because I know this question gets asked all the time, duration and when to add it in.
Typically I've told people if you're going to add in cardio, I would only realistically, if you're doing a high intensity cardio workout, you should only need 20 minutes. My opinion, that is, if you're still just trying to be fit, or maybe you're doing it once a week if you are trying to gain size. 20 minutes, man. I mean, it's intense. It's good.
Yeah. 20 minutes. And
what's your thoughts on that?
I wouldn't have separate it from your leg days. So when you're training legs, your legs, the size that you're going to gain, and the all your recovery should go to training your legs. Because once you get old enough, man, that's the first thing to go. Like, if you notice all these bodybuilders in their 40s and stuff like that, the first thing that leaves them is their legs, even if they keep up with it. And just because it's relatively, I truly do believe that it's relatively easy to lose size in your legs. Just because it's something you're constantly using, it's something you're, muscles are constantly being activated to even get out of bed.
Right.
So it's one of those things where, and in there, I mean, similar to a squat, your quads fire and your hamstrings fire the same way. Muscles don't really care if you're walking or you're squatting. They will fire, and if you try and eat into the recovery of your squats, I do believe, or your leg movements, because I know some people don't squat. Your leg movements, it will eventually end up in smaller legs. So if you're going to add in cardio after your workouts, which has become popular, do it on an upper body day. That way, you can kind of increase your calorie burn for that, and And you know, things like biceps and triceps, they don't need their recovery time, or your arm day too, is relatively short. So if you hammer your triceps, you hammer your arms, you shouldn't be eating into much recovery uh, cardio wise, by doing it on your upper body day or arm day or chest day or whatever. You know, once or twice a week, maybe 3 times if you're one of those people who just struggle with weight loss and want to get more weight loss out of your training than you do, or your cardio than you do out of your diet. That could be something that you can implement. But once or twice a week, I think, should be pretty reasonable for people. So I wouldn't do it on your off day, because that's your recovery day. That's
Right. That's a
that's the
day
day
that you
when you
just
do
need to rest and
nothing.
relax. Right.
You know, you eat food, you put your body in an anabolic state. You sit there and you try and uh, reduce the fatigue that you've been accumulating for the time that you've been training.
Reduce the stress that you've put on your body.
Yeah.
Sleep. Sleep a lot.
You know, and we can talk about that. We also have an episode on that, believe it or not, that I will go ahead and link in the description box below, on sleep and how important that is in recovery. So, but when it comes down to it, guys, just don't put an over. If you're doing an hour of cardio a day and you're trying to gain size, please don't. Please stop
Right.
that. You know. And for people with active jobs, man, hammer away that food. If you've been
Yes.
training like a monster, hammer it away.
If you're doing a
Clean.
highly demanding physical job, like I got a buddy that works over at FedEx, he loads and unloads trucks, and he's lost a little bit of size, and I told him, and he's trying to gain size. I said, dude, you're shredded to the bone, and you're trying to gain size. It's okay if you're going to do dirty bulk.
Right.
That means you're going to go out there and eat cheeseburgers, and you're going to eat a bunch of Oreos. That, man, for right now, go for it. Still get your fruits and veggies and your healthy lean meats in there, and train properly and everything. But man, you got to get those calories in there. You have to.
You know, it's that is something that I wanted to kind of go over in this episode. So people with physical jobs, just like Andrew Larino, you know, he was somebody we interviewed, and I'm gonna have him back. He was a record holder in Louisiana, state record holder for total 181. Um, but he's a pipe layer, which, if you know anything about their job, it's incredibly demanding. So my question is this to you: people who do physical jobs, they have a tendency to say, you know what? I've done plenty of physical work today. I should just skip the gym. What are your opinions on that, man?
I'm going to say that's a yes and no. And the reason why I say that is because if you're in the sense of you are not eating enough, you are not sleeping enough, you are recovering enough, you should probably not go to the gym, because you're probably not going to get anything better, but instead make things worse if you are not getting the food that you need and the rest you need in recovery. You're probably just going to tear yourself down even more, and you're going to go further back. Now, if your one buddy is that works at FedEx, work times he'll just be a little tired, and I'll have to wake him up so he doesn't sleep for 10 hours, and so
Give
I'll
him a
let
good
him
old
sleep for 7
slap.
or 8 hours. What's that?
Give him a good old slap.
Oh, yeah, I'll go in there, I'll wake him up, and I'll say, time to get up. You're going to eat your food and go to the gym. He's like, well, I'm pretty tired. I think I want to take this day as a rest day. I'll look at him and I'll say, I know you better than you know yourself. You're just feeling a little tired. Once you wake up and eat your food and go to the gym, you'll be fine.
Yeah,
Stuff like that. If you're feeling lazy, don't worry. You need to go to the gym.
yeah. You know, and my opinion actually differs a little bit. So one of the things that happens when you work a physical job, Monday through Friday, for basically, a year or 6 months or whatever, your body adapts to that level of activity rather quickly. So it's just
Mhm.
like if you were to squat every day. There's people that put up the squat every day thing to get used to squats, and then of course nobody says, hey, why don't we just go ahead and once we're used to squats, reduce the amount of squats we do. But, you know, that's a whole nother video we can talk about, and programming and all that stuff. But your body gets used to that level of activity. So a little wrench that you can throw in there, you know, you brought up muscle confusion. I call it adaptation specificity, right? So you want your bicep to get bigger, right? Your bicep is not going to get bigger from doing the same thing every day.
Right.
Something that you need to do is you need to do your job, go into the gym, do an unfamiliar movement like curls. Nobody's sitting there curling at work. You know, nobody's doing heavy chin-ups at work, no, unless you're a firefighter, which, whatever, don't count. So nobody's doing those kind of movements at the workplace. So I do believe that it's important, if you have a planned gym day that day, if nothing catastrophic went on, get into the gym, because
Yes.
your body will adapt to your body. All muscle building is an adaptation to specific movements, right? So why do we do curls? Grow bigger biceps. Why do we do bench press? Grow a bigger chest. And very specific movements that we've kind of found out that do this very specific thing. You're not getting the same benefits at work. I'm not saying that those guys who weld don't have gigantic forearms that make me jealous, right? I'm not saying that those guys who are pipe layers don't have strong lower backs. I'm saying that they may have strong lower backs, but they're not getting, they're not getting those killer triceps that you see on bodybuilders, because they don't do anything for the triceps at work, and that's something they need to come to the gym to do in order to recruit that adaptation that I was referring to. And
You may gain a lot of strength from jobs like that, but the question is,
yeah.
are you building on a physique that you're really trying to build on as well? If you're going in for a contest, for a show, and you know you're trying to build on a physique that's going to wow the judges, yeah, you need to get in that gym.
See, and that's the world I come from, so maybe I'm a little jaded, but you know, it's physical jobs are rough, you know. But I think we can kind of jump off that. One thing I did kind of want to go over with you. So, training specifically, are there any movements that are not good for you? That you don't like
Movements are
necessarily?
not good for me. You know, I'm trying to think on that one because I can't think off the top of my head if there's any movements that I don't do because they hurt me or just don't make me feel good to grow. I can't really think of any right now, and I'm obviously thinking specifically for bodybuilding and powerlifting, so
Right.
I'm cutting out the cardio moves. I will say an opposite of that question: is there any moves that
Yeah,
really
sure. Go ahead
benefit
into
me?
that. Yeah.
Uh, One thing that I think too many people skip out on is one, heavy hammer curls. If you are not doing hammer curls, and if you are not going and like I'm not saying just go and do cheat reps. Work your way up. Start off lighter. Get that pump. Get that volume in there, and then go for those heavy cheat curls. Go for those heavy hammer curls, and please don't do them in a cheating way that's going to injure yourself. Just a little swing is okay. That is going to put on some great strength and size on your biceps and forearms. For triceps, something that I think people are not doing enough for triceps is they are not doing skull crushers properly. I don't think people are allowing a stretch for their triceps. Your triceps can go all the way back and connect into your lats. So I think, doing stuff that's really like an overhead movement, as an example, for allowing that stretch to come into your triceps is important. And one big thing for chest that we just discussed is flies. And when you do flies, people do them too light, in my opinion. I understand that flies you have to be a little bit more careful on so you don't injure yourself. But man, oh man, when I did flies and close grip bench press with dumbbells, I would go up and I think I've done like 120-pound dumbbells for flies before. And, that was with good form. That wasn't, turning into like an A press or anything. And then the close grip bench press, you work on the width of that chest with the flies, You work on closing that gap in between your chest and working on, it peeking out a little bit with that close grip bench. Something for like back, the Pendley rows, man. I mean, rows. Heavy bent over rows. Pendley rows. I mean, I'll go up to 365, and I'm attempting to go up to 405 for Pendley rows. And boy, do those things make you grow. Stuff that really works on getting the thickness in that inner back, and then after you get that thickness with the rows, doing something that works on the width. So I'll do like a laying down dumbbell pullover. That works amazingly well for my lats to grow wide. Something for shoulders is, I don't think people are doing enough properly side raises and front raises. I don't think people do side raises to the point that they need to be doing, where they either are not doing the movement properly because they're holding their arms up too far forward in front of them. They are not doing it properly because they're swinging too much. Maybe they're not coming high enough. And then front raises, working on the front part of the delts. For me, my rear delts are absolutely incredible, and I don't even have to train them that often. My rear delts just pop out. So for most people, rear delt flies, face pulls, behind the bar, barbell shrugs, and then last but not least, for legs, one huge, absolutely amazing workout, lunges. 2 different forms of lunges. Doing walking lunges with dumbbells, great for a pump, great for endurance. And then the other one is split leg lunges. Put the bar in between your legs, lunge down, pick the bar up, very similar to a deadlift, stand up with the bar, and just do lunge pulses. Start at the top, lunge all the way down to where your back leg is barely going to touch the ground, your knee, stand up again. Those work incredibly well for your strength and for your size. I mean, lunges are absolutely amazing. Absolutely.
I will say this with lunges, though. I would highly suggest everybody slow down the movement, because what I've seen recently is people just going through, and that's something we can talk about too, is people just going through the motions and not really getting the most bang out of the buck for the exercise.
Right. I'd really like to do a video like that, yeah.
You'll see that all the time on lunges, because people just throw themselves down and then get up as fast as they can because they're in an uncomfortable position. And what you don't realize is you're supposed to be getting a stretch and a squeeze. You're supposed to be feeling those muscles contract. You're supposed to be, that's what bodybuilding is. That's what, again, that's where I come from. Now, maybe I'm a little biased, but you should be chasing that pump, that squeeze.
Yes,
so,
yes.
And
even when I do powerlifting, I can't help it but to feel the stretch and the contraction. Most people with powerlifting are just focused on getting the object from point A to point B.
Up, down.
For me, I'm just like, I can't do that. When I'm doing a squat, when I'm doing a deadlift, and especially when I'm doing a bench press, I have to feel that stretch and that contraction. So when you're doing that with 405, man, it starts getting hard because you're just focusing on squeezing. But I
and
like to do that,
and we can do videos. Something I have been meaning to do on this channel is exercise instruction videos, which I'm going to be doing.
That's what I was going to say. Was I would love to do that.
As well as if you could do some lifting videos for us too. I have to get it cleared with my gym, and then I'm going to start doing it. So
that's what I'm trying to get cleared with my gym, is able to start doing more workout videos. And if you follow my Instagram, or if anyone else that's watching this is following me on Instagram,
I'll link it in the description box below. Yeah.
All right. You'll see some of my workout videos and my progress pictures on Instagram. And I would like to do full workout videos instead of just occasional little progress videos. One thing that I do think is an important topic to discuss, on which this might be part 2 that you and I might be able to do, is talking about programming your workouts. What kind of workout routine you need to be doing to complement your goals, the exercises that are incorporated in that, the repetitions, and the sets. I don't want to give out all of the information on that, because as a trainer and someone who does release his own programs, I want those people to kind of like come to me or go to other people that do the same thing, and ask for their assistance and pay for them for that, because that's their job as well as that's my job. but I still want to give people an understanding of that so that they can still incorporate something higher into their routine
I
to
get what you
benefit their
mean.
growth.
I mean, you know, I program my own stuff. Like all the progress that I've made has just been from me for the past couple of years, and it's so much better once you get it, you know.
Yes.
But I mean, I do see the need, and maybe, you know what, when you get that program together, I think what we may do is we might release it a lesser or a beginner version of it on Chaos and Pain, maybe.
Dude, this program that I've been doing with some of these other guys, it's a 12-week power building program for mass and strength.
Right.
It is absolutely amazing. My best program I've ever done so far. We're still in the trial phase right now. You know, we're just finishing up this week. This current week that I'm in is the 4th week of month 2. So next week we're going into the 3rd month, and like I said, it's a 3-month program, and it's just to increase, you know, your overall size and strength. You know, your 3 main lifts. You mark down what you started with, where you're at after the 2nd month, and then where you're at after the 3rd month, and then you know you're going to take some time off. You know, a couple weeks off, then you're going to do the main lifts again and see where you're at. Same thing with body composition, with seeing where you started off with how lean you were at the start versus how lean you are in the middle and at the end, as well as lean muscle tissue. I like what you said. Starting off with a program that's probably a little bit less is going to be better, because this program is not. It is not. Yes, this program is not a beginner program.
Right.
It is very intense. This is for people that are going into contests, competitions, going on stage. I mean, this is for people that are wanting to break records. The buddy that I'm training with right now, you know, I helped train him, and he has set 2 state records here where I live in Ohio for bench press and deadlift. So he was doing the training we're doing. So this is not an easy training regimen.
No. I mean, you know, it is something special when you kind of run across something that just kind of clicks into place when it comes to programming. And, you know, I'm glad your buddy has found. I'm glad that you're, you know, doing that for people. And maybe, potentially, we can link to that service once it's available. But
that'd be awesome.
Right now, I think what we're going to do is we're going to finish up here. I have a quick couple things I'd like to go over with you beforehand. So we were asked in a previous video, what besides grip do we use isometric training for? So isometric stuff like static holds. So how would you program something besides grip that you would use as an isometric style?
I want to hear what you would say first. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and say what your thoughts are first.
Ooh, buddy. So something that I have started using, that I've stolen from various other trainers, is I like to do flexing, like this intense contraction flex at the end of any like fly movements, at the end of squats even. I flex my quads just as hard as I can, and I feel that kind of helps. You know, I know it's kind of bro science, but, you know, hey, bro science is only bro science until it's proven. But it tells your muscles, hey, this is what you're supposed to look like. Get bigger, get bigger, get bigger. It's a kind of a signal that I use to kind of, you know, it may be a little frou-frou bro science, but I absolutely love doing it. Do a couple chest flies,
amazingly well.
Squeeze, you know, and you get that gnarly, almost makes you want to pass out type of pump. That's what made me fall in love with bodybuilding, honestly.
I'll do the same thing. I'll do that exact same thing, and then I'll mix it up. So sometimes I'll do that where I call it flexing out, where almost you go flex so hard you pass out.
Yeah.
The second thing that I'll do is I'll go do a posing routine. After my workout, I will do a
long
routine.
Forgotten art.
You know, and here's one thing. When you're posing, guys, be sure, practice your vacuums, okay? You need to control that midsection, and you need to make sure that midsection looks tight. Anyone can have abs. It's easy. Well, in the sense of, like, professional bodybuilding. But
No, we
once
can
you
cover
suck
that
that
because
gut,
I agree.
because if you suck in that gut into the sense of holding that, sucked in that vacuum while you're holding like a lat spread or a front double bicep, boy, does that look good. And
Yeah.
it can be hard.
Not only that, but doing the belly dance is a fun party trick too. Just take your shirt off and just make that wave happen. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, I have to agree with you there. Stomach vacuums are something that people just completely have just for some reason abandoned, and maybe that's to blame for the gut issue we have in bodybuilding right now, possibly. But I will say that a stronger transverse abdominis only equates to a stronger person, and stomach vacuums absolutely train your transverse abdominis. So it's a girdle under the girdle. So whenever you're bracing for deadlifts, it's not your abs doing the work. Well, it is your abs. It's your core. It's including
Your
your
core, yeah, your whole
transverse
core,
abdominis.
everything. Oh yeah.
So really important. I love the idea of posing routines after. I mean, that just makes me feel like a bodybuilder. Just makes me all warm inside. Makes me think I'm doing something
Absolutely.
right, you know.
My head pump make you look superhuman.
Oh yeah, yeah. The Friday night before I go out pump that everybody does,
Oh,
you know.
yeah.
You don't remember being a teenager and just doing a couple push-ups just to make sure you look extra
Look
fresh.
a little pumped up. Yep.
Yeah.
I've done that once or twice.
Yeah, yeah. Right after we get off here, I got to go out somewhere. Hold on. But no, it's one of those things. Also, doing pause reps is something that I am a big fan of too, especially on stuff like pull-ups. Do you do a lot of pull-ups? You're probably a little too big for that, or you do.
I actually do
pull-ups.
pull-ups.
Oh, you know what? Finally, another taller guy who does pull-ups.
I
How's
think
it feel?
three big things that people need to do, especially while you're a growing bodybuilder. You need to stay with those pull-ups, man, because that is great for strength and muscle growth. Push-ups, I think push-ups is great just for your endurance and for your development. And as much as people might not agree with me, body-weighted squats and lunges. I
Yeah.
think that they're very beneficial.
You know why? Whenever you fall when you're old, you're not gonna have a bar on your back to balance you.
Exactly.
Also, to kind of piggyback on that, some movement like dips, pull-ups, push-ups, all that stuff that has your own body weight moving through a plane of motion, I've found to be a gigantic bang for your buck exercise. Again,
Yes.
stuff like pull-ups, even handstand push-ups. By the way, they look cool. I just can't do them.
I could do the handstand push-ups, and I can actually do plyometric handstand push-ups, believe it or not.
There you
But
go.
I refuse to do them because all the blood rushes right to my head. My eyes will get bloodshot, and I'm like, I can't do this, man. So,
See, I just have the balance of a ballerina with an inner ear infection, so everything's just gone. I just tip. But it'd be okay. I have the bar there to balance me.
there you go.
Especially when I'm older. But anyway, there's some other things. So crunches. What are your opinions on ab training? I want to know that.
Okay,
So-
ab training, this is my personal opinion, is people will say that abs are not made in the gym, they're made in the kitchen. I agree and disagree. I agree that abs can and are somewhat diet dependent. But for someone as myself, I cannot get my abs to show at all unless I train them. No matter how healthy I eat, no matter if I'm cutting or bulking, they won't show unless I train them. And when I train them, I don't think that the best scenario is to always, and when I say always, I mean constantly every time. I don't think constantly every time that you should do weighted exercises for your abs. So, recently people might have seen, I posted the video on my Instagram of me doing weighted sit-ups and Russian twists with a 45 plate. That's great. It's great to help build on some strength for your core and abdominals, and it can help them pop out slightly more. But it's not something I recommend doing all the time because your abs will start getting pushed out slightly as you're doing more and more weighted routines, because your core muscles are going to get thicker. So that's
Right.
not always the best thing if you're just trying to chisel your abs. Doing stuff that is, in my personal opinion, twisting movements, Russian twists, leg lifts, windshield wipers when you're laying on the floor, legs up, side to sides. I think doing stuff like bicycles, doing stuff like mountain climbers, fat burning exercises like that are really nice. Now, as far as crunches and sit-ups go, crunches don't do a darn thing for me. I think that's a warm-up. I think that's a warm-up for my warm-up. I think that's for my rest day. But doing something like sit-ups, they've always worked pretty well for me for building on a little more leanness and a little more strength in my core. I know that a lot of people want to argue on whether they're healthy for your spine or not. I think if you do them properly and you're not doing them on a constant basis, just strictly those, I think you'll be okay.
Yeah.
So that's just some of my thoughts.
I have to agree with you on that one. I mean, I see all these people saying that squat, benching, and deadlifting is enough for your abs, and I find that to be utterly ridiculous when you look at all of the professional bodybuilders who specifically train abs because it's a muscle group.
Yes.
And I stand by that. I'm sorry that's going to upset some people, but and I understand they're made in the kitchen. Yeah, low body fat. But when I was down to 178 at one point in my life, I literally had no abs. I had no abs because I had no foundation of muscle on my frame at all. It was just straight down, right? And I had to build up abs. And there's pictures of them up on. I'll spare you the shirtless douchebaggery. There's pictures of them up on my my Instagram. But even Jamie said I got so lean that he could see my serratus. And
now, how often would you claim that you would want to be training abs? That's something that people are definitely going to be asking: is how often do they need to train them?
I think we can cover that more in depth in the programming.
I think that'd be a good idea.
But I will say that it's just like any other muscle group. Twice a week, I think, is pretty good. I'm not a fan of the everyday abs thing because it's
the only
boring.
time I say doing abs every day is if you're doing one move every day. I think then you could probably keep up with it without overdoing it. But when you do one move, I wouldn't recommend doing the same move every single day. So maybe one day you're doing some form of a sit-up, the next day you're doing like a Russian twist, the next day you're doing leg raises hanging from a bar. If you're doing in that concept of training every day, I can understand that. But if you're doing like a full abdominal routine, I agree. 2 times a week would be good. 3 times a week if you are recovering at a faster rate, and if you're not training them as high a volume.
Now, as for weights and stuff, I know that people are adverse to using weight because, again, the spine thing, which I will be completely honest with you guys. I find it hard to find any value in that argument, only because in every single exercise that we have available to us, there are certain individuals that take it to the extreme. There are certain individuals that are the outlier, and because they are the outlier, they scream at the top of their lungs, and they make it widely known that these are bad for your spine, and all this other stuff, right? When in actuality, for the general public who do not have these issues, or who do not... I mean, I've seen some stupid stuff like people doing sit-ups, and just flopping on the bench with, a barbell with 225 on there, just flopping on the bench. And, well, yeah, you're going to have some disc issues. You're crashing down on that bench. You're not controlling the movement. I think
something along the lines of where they're doing like a crunch movement, but instead of really contracting their core and abdominals, they're just crunching forward. You're just bending at the spine. You're bending forward like that. You're not actually... your chest is not raising upward, your chest is curving inward. And the difference between the two is when your chest kind of like raises up like this, you're trying to contract your core and your abdominals like a real crunch versus just rolling your spine.
Right. Kind of like people who injure themselves doing ab wheel rollouts, which, by the way, fantastic movement. No, you can use basically no weight. There's all kinds of different variations. But when it comes down to it, I've seen people injure their backs because all they do is they go through the motions. You know, you're supposed to use your abs to pull yourself forward. And for a lot of people who have trouble contracting their abs, start out with a crunch, get used to that burning feeling, right? And then progress from there. Pick different exercises. And if you don't feel that burning feeling, lower the weight and try again. And that's one of the best things about training is it's our life's greatest experiment. We go into the gym, we find out what works for us, we have fun doing it. And I know I was talking with my buddy Russ up at my local gym, and he was benching 385 or something like that. And he asked me to spot him and everything. He's like, man, this hurts so good. And that kind of just resonated with me because we choose to go in there, right? We choose to do all this stuff. So if it's not fun, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
So
when I feel that burn, like he just said, oh, it burns so good or hurts so good. When I feel that burn, when I'm repping, boy, do I love that, because that burn, that's not pain. It's called growth. That's growth, baby. I love that.
I like that. Yeah, and we'll schedule the programming because I'm really excited about that topic specifically.
I think when people hear more about programming, especially for people, because I think a lot of our viewers, at least the people that message me on Facebook, they're people that are trying to gain size and strength. Now, I know that's not everyone, but I really think, though, that the people that are trying to find a better program that's more intense, more dependent for their goals, when we talk about making your program, the exercises, the
muscle groups,
yes, the repetitions and the sets. Repetitions and sets goes a long way. I don't care what anyone says. They go a long way.
It means a lot, yeah.
Yes. When you guys hear about it, you're going to be like, holy cow, I never thought about that. It's going to be good. And you're going to find out some secrets that a lot of pros are using that no one has told you about.
And I can kind of get nerdy in talking about finding out what works for you, and then based on what rep ranges you fall into is how you should program. But anyway, I think that does it for this Hatecast. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and like this video. If you want to subscribe, as the pillow that I'm pointing to. I can't speak today. Forgive me. Subscribe to the YouTube channel anyway to show your support. We're almost up to 2,000 subscribers. Once we hit 2,000 subscribers on this channel, we will be doing a massive giveaway, so stay tuned for that. And if you dislike this video, so we will see you in the next one.
Conan, what is best in life? Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentation of their women. That is good.
Too many thoughts on my mind, I can't sleep at night, so I just keep writing. I don't need no help, I don't need opinions, so don't waste my time then. I just been living online, my city don't show me no love, and that's fine. Fuck local radio stations, I got more plays than all of these rappers combined. I'm going again, I've been going in, I'm fed up with so many things, I gotta just let it all out. I'm talking about the shit they've been talking about, telling me I should do this, telling me I should do that, telling me things about rap, talking the truth and that stab in my back, they will knock me off track. No, too many things have been building, been hard to deal with, I just been drinking. Remember my moves in the past, I'm wondering what was I thinking. Lately I'm living in fear, wondering what if the end is so near. All of this shit going on, the shootings are strong, one shot to the head and I'm gone. I'm losing control but I can't let it go, cause I'm trying to get more. And I've been in the moment, I've been in the zone, and I'm moving alone. I don't pick up the phone when my family call, I've been doing it wrong and I don't know what's happening. Trying to get what I just been imagining, getting close and I just been examining all of the fake shit the game has been packaged.
Not what pleases you, Crom. So grant me one request. Grant me revenge. And if you do not listen, then the hell with you.
I come from from a town where most of the people are so close-minded. They go into school and they work in a job, but they don't even like it. I won't be put in a box, nobody telling me what I should rock, nobody telling me what I should drop, cause I do what I want and just know I don't stop. Recording till 4 in the morning, they snoring, I'm pouring my soul into every story. I'm writing, producing, I mix it, I master, I'm building my craft and I'm not looking back. I've been going doing things I wanna do when I want to. Everybody wanna get away, but they not do. Everybody wanna copy you, but they not you. Everybody wanna be cool, but they not new. Whoa, look how I go, gonna be a dentist, I still got the flow. Never gonna lose cause I'm still doing both. Never gonna lose cause I've been on the road. Come to your state and I'm killing the show. Know that I'm young and I still gotta grow. Know that I'm working the most, know I'm never gonna choke. And I'm looking back down on the people below.
I've been keeping real, I've been doing what I feel. I've been out here trying to kill every beat I know I